Hello, everyone. I'm Colin of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark tonight to talk about WWE NXT 2.0. John, how you doing?
I am doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Glad to have you with us. And I got a nice Memorial Day vacation. Took some time to recharge the batteries. You're still, as you were talking about before, one on the air. So not quite 100% of the way there after you got surgery, but you said now you are. But just to take some time to kind of rest up and really get back to 100% must have been nice, right?
Absolutely. It feels great to be able to lift more than a gallon of milk again and work out a little bit. Can start golfing again. So things finally back to normal. And now that Memorial Day is over, we kind of got, I guess the 4th of July is coming up, but otherwise we're kind of flowing right into the summer here, which is normally when things with wrestling kind of start to pick back up after they kind of went downhill after WrestleMania and everything. Now they kind of start to go back uphill as we head into SummerSlam. And obviously, we have a kind of a, dare I say, roadblock, even though they have an event called Roadblock for NXT anyway. They have In Your House this weekend, and tonight was the final build to that.
Yeah, and you mentioned things kind of picking back up, just I guess to take care of some housekeeping. So June already, June is starting. This is as we record May 31st. June, get right off the bat, is a very event-filled month. We have eventful, literally. We have In Your House for NXT on Saturday. We have WWE in Hell in a Cell on Sunday. Then I think there's a week off, and then there's I think Impact's anniversary is the week after that. And the week after that, I believe, is Forbidden Door for AW and New Japan. So I think pretty much almost every week through June, there's something to cover, something to watch, something to talk about. We were talking before we went on the air. Obviously, it's a little tricky when you have Saturday and Sunday event. I think we're going to tentatively plan. We're going to do the Hell in a Cell post show Sunday right after the show. We're going to do In Your House, a post show / discussion kind of thing. We're going to tie that in for the NXT show post show on next Tuesday. Talk about the In Your House show on Tuesday, and figure we could tie that in with whatever happens on the fallout on NXT. There's so much wrestling. As Nezra says, there's never a break, and especially like this weekend. Having a show both days is a little tricky. Usually. I was telling John before we went on the air, like when they did Elimination Chamber on Saturday, we did the post show the next day. I mean, we talked about it before. Like I'm working pretty much every day, so the days I have off, I really try to kind of square those off. And like it's one thing as a fan, if I want to watch it as a fan, but like to work it, to do the post show and everything, it's like it's a lot. It's a lot, especially like again the day I might be off otherwise, and that way I'm at my best for the days I am working. So. I'm covering Hell in a Cell on Sunday, and then we're gonna do the post show for that, and then I figured it made sense to do the In Your House post show on Tuesday because we mentioned maybe doing kind of a combined discussion for Hell in a Cell and NXT In Your House, but that'd be a long post show for a Sunday evening because that show's probably going to go to at least 11 Eastern time. So I think that makes sense, and I think that's how we're going to handle it. Usually we're not going to have too many of these things where they double up like this. But boy, yeah, it's a lot, No, it's not bad thing to have so much wrestling. Steven says it's awesome to be a wrestling fan. Yes, it's awesome time to be a fan. It's awesome time to enjoy it. There's never a shortage of stuff to watch and enjoy. Brian said it's going to be a fun-filled weekend, and yes, it will. So we will have coverage of both shows as they air, and obviously we'll have a post show for Hell in a Cell on Sunday. With that out of the way, John, this was the go-home show for NXT In Your House. We already had most of the card lined up pretty nicely. And I guess while we're talking about the events, talking about these things this weekend, we can dive into the one match that was added to the card for In Your House. So the turf war between Tony D and Santos Escobar continues. They had a sit-down meeting on a yacht, which was very fun. These two got I really like the storyline. It's cinematic. Like some of my favorite things in NXT, Index. And we may disagree on that, but Index. Any number of other feuds have really kind of gone the more cinematic, like more storyline-driven route here. I think NXT has always done that very well, at least as long as I've been watching it. I think this feud's been another example. So they had this yacht meeting to kind of figure out how to finally resolve, at least if not resolve this. Things had reached a boiling point. Tony wanted to rematch us after Santos beat him in a singles match. Santos logically said, "Well, I already beat you. What do I have to gain?" So they had to up the stakes. So. In Your House, 6-man tag, Tony D, two dimes and stacks, his goons, if you will face Legado del Fantasma in a match where whoever loses has to join forces with the other, has to kind of fall in line and join their crew. I think that'll be very, very fun. seems pretty fair to think that Tony's going to win, and because he is the Don of NXT. But I think it'll be a fun story. It's been a fun storyline. I think it'll be a fun match to see what happens there.
Well, I think regardless of what happens, we can all agree that this was the right call to do this, no matter who's going to win, because Legado del Fantasma has already been an established group for a long time. They've been successful. They've shown the ability to win, and kind of like what you said is expected. Forcing Escobar to kind of work under like D'Angelo's wing could be, what we need to finally make Escobar turn babyface at some point down the line, and eventually move up to the main roster. Because let's not kid ourselves here, the history of these kind of characters moving to the main roster hasn't necessarily been the most successful. Andrade is one that immediately pops into mind. It didn't work. Santos Escobar is kind of the same character, except without Zelina. There's kind of more people around him. And I think it would be a shame if they kind of flopped on this again. So, six-man tag will be entertaining, but this is what I'm worried about. There's a lot of green wrestlers in this match, specifically with D'Angelo here. I'm not convinced that this is going to be a really good match. I would have preferred a one-on-one with maybe a stipulation of some sort. So I'm hoping that they really are able to make this a good match, because we've been proven wrong time and time again at NXT special live events, whatever you want to call them, previously called takeovers. They always deliver. So I'm hoping it's going to be the case this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a match that has a lot of green people in it. I do think Stacks and Two Dimes are people we really haven't seen all that much of. I don't know much about them. I do know that Legado del Fantasma, the one guy got renamed with Cruz del Toro. It was formerly Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wild. I think those two guys have a pretty good amount of experience. Santos has a lot of experience, kind of easy to kind of forget. He's been doing this, I think like 2 decades. Like, he's a lot older than you might think, so he's very, very experienced as well. Tony, that is a good point. He, especially when NXT 2.0 was starting, one of those guys that are like very young, very new, but he's worked with Pete Dunne, a bunch of the other top guys, and he's been there for a couple months now. So like green being a relative term, but I guess I feel less concerned with him in that sense. But yeah, very much not quite sure what to expect from Stacks and Two Dimes here. Not to say that the whole match kind of lies on them, but like, no, I do think there's that concern there. But at the same time, as you mentioned, this kind of had to be what they did, like not just another singles match. Like, this made a lot of sense. And yeah, Brian saying Escobar, even maybe from a storyline perspective, they do have the experience advantage here. So maybe that'll be part of the story. Maybe that's part of what we'll see here. We've talked about this pretty much every week. Some comments saying it should have been a War Games match. Brian pointing that out. Again, like, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of set on the calendar. It's like June or so is usually In Your House. War Games is usually the December show, or at least like the winter show. So like, again, we had talked about that previously, where it's like I didn't know what the timeline would be. War Games is always fun, but right now this is what they've got. They've got 3-on-3. And we're already talking about, they haven't really featured Tony's goons that much. So I would like randomly adding in a couple other people on both sides. Maybe might be a little questionable here. They could do 3-on-3. I'm not saying that's impossible or anything, but I'm happy with this. I think it'll be fun. Steven says Phantasma needs a win. They've been going downhill, and I would agree. But we've been seeing this for months now. Like, it's been just kind of a general theme of like the new guys are getting built up. The quote unquote old guys, whoever came before, are getting kind of not pushed down, but they're definitely kind of taking a bit of a back seat here, trying to build up these new stars. Not just that she was not expecting the stipulation of having one join the other. John, you mentioned maybe this will have like some kind of ramifications for Santos and Babyface. I think that's interesting. Do you mean that maybe he'll join and then eventually kind of rise up and turn on them down the road?
That's exactly
down the road. Yeah, just that might be the outcome.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was implying. It just seems like it makes the most sense. And Escobar in this feud has already kind of been like the favorite, like fan favorite anyway. I wouldn't say he's the betting favorite, because I would find it really hard to believe that D'Angelo would lose here. It just doesn't make sense with the way they've been taking the story.
Yeah, he's the Don of NXT. I think this kind of win would definitely help him cement that, but losing, it's like, how could you have the Dawn of NXT lose and join someone else's group? So I definitely agree with that point as well. And that just says loser leaves NXT would have been better. I think that's about the same. Like I wouldn't think they would have Tony lose, somebody that they've invested so much in. And for me, I always kind of question loser leaves NXT matches, because technically, NXT is supposed to be the developmental brand. If it's loser leaves NXT, it's like if they show up on Raw or SmackDown, like they fell upwards. Like they got rewarded for losing. That always seems a little weird to me. They don't do that very often, I think, for that reason. But that would have been maybe a more high stakes match. But this is about pride. This is about who is the Don of NXT, and about the humiliation of having either guy and their crew having to fall in line and get the other. So I see that point as well. But I think it makes sense at the same time. I think that there's that kind of obstacle out of the way of like, I don't think Tony's necessarily going to lose either way. So and that's just more so based on the pattern what we're seeing. I think it'll be fun though. No, at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be very fun. But this is one, I guess technically two of multiple stables who are going to have. One of them had a big night tonight. One of them will have a big night on Sunday. One of them that we'll definitely be looking forward to on Saturday. Saturday, Toxic Attraction will be defending all of the women's tag team titles. They had a women's championship summit tonight, so I know that Gigi and JC will be defending against Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Got that right? Yes. So the former Casey Catanzaro. So they have the women's championship summit. Not the biggest fan of this. Like I've said it before. I know many of you in the comments really enjoy Wendy Chu. Not really digging it. And the summit, this segment entirely meant for talking, and Wendy's only line basically was sign the contract, just kind of to shut Toxic Attraction up. I don't know, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then she shot a spitball at Mandy, and they're brawling again, like more of the same kind of pranks. I'm like, I don't know. I know you love Wendy Chu. Like I don't know. And then she was wearing this cow suit, like this cow pajama suit. Hey man, I love cows, but I don't know. Brian says that the segment was tough to watch. Caden shows she's really good on the mic. I was impressed with Caden. I think she definitely was one of the bright spots of the segment. She had, I guess she maybe sold the match more than anybody. And I enjoyed that part of it. My main problem with it was that none of the challenges have been really built up. And Wendy's main thing is pranking Mandy. I can't really remember Katana and Caden winning a lot of matches recently. That just kind of have picked a fight with the champions, really. So, I always like having challengers gain momentum. But still, overall, didn't really love this. Wendy slammed, for lack of better words. She did the falling nap motion through a table. I don't know, through to Mandy, and they all held up the titles. And then the commentary team kept asking, is this going to be the new faces of the NXT Women's Division? And I was like, I hope not. The space what we're seeing so far, John, I'm not really, at least not for Wendy. For Katana and Caden, I'm less resistant to that. But I would be a little upset if Mandy Rose lost to Wendy Chu on Saturday.
So I am 50% in agreement with you and 50% not in agreement with you. So I'll start out by saying this was definitely an awkward segment, but it actually worked out that way. Being awkward actually, it made sense. Wendy Chu has got the crowd behind her. She has turned the crowd on Toxic Attraction. You could barely hear Mandy Rose talking because they were so behind Wendy Chu. And I was surprised because at first, I'm not saying I do now, but at first, I thought this gimmick was just absolutely crazy. She sleeps. That's it. That's the gimmick. She sleeps. That's it. But tonight, literally for the first time, it actually felt to me like True was a legitimate challenger for Mandy Rose that could actually win. So the part I disagree with you on is basically about Wendy Chu in general. I think she has that main roster star power behind her right now. I don't know what it is. It's just she's definitely proved herself to me. Now, people are saying that the time has come to take the gold off Toxic Attraction. I agree with that to an extent. However, I don't think Mandy Rose should lose in this case, but I do think at least one of the championship needs to go to a fresh team or act or character or whatever. And in this case, it's Chance and Carter. They have earned a run with the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. They need to win, and this shouldn't be what it was last time, where Toxic Attraction lost and then won it back like 1 or 2 weeks later. Let's not do that this time. Let's kind of have maybe a story where Mandy wins, but then the two, Jane and Dolan, are too like distracted with trying to get theirs back that maybe Mandy loses hers somehow because the rest of Toxic Attraction isn't paying enough attention or helping enough, which then leads to a demise of the group. Alternatively, which I think I would probably prefer, all three of them would move up to the main roster together and maintain their team, and that would be a good group for the women's tag team champions whenever they decide to bring them back months down the line. Even if they don't, especially Gigi and Mandy. And I can't believe I'm saying Mandy because if you had asked me 3 years ago, I would have said she's in the 24/7 scene. Nobody cares. The main roster could really use Mandy right now, honestly,
Yeah.
especially SmackDown. Like,
Yep.
it would be a good fresh turn of events. Now, obviously, I don't know if she could challenge, Ronda Rousey right away, but at least to be on the roster, And Brian Everett says maybe call up Jane and Dolan. I don't think you call those two up if Mandy isn't going with them. I think they have to be together.
Yeah, I mean, we've pretty much every show at this point, especially because the Sasha Banks and Naomi thing, the main roster is kind of lacking in depth overall. You think about the women's tag titles, whatever happens there. So if they do have that tournament, if they do, keep rolling with them, Gigi and JC would definitely be a good contender for those. And potentially calling up the whole trio would definitely be good. I'm a big fan of Mandy, so I would definitely like to see her back. This Mandy on the main roster, I think, would be great. Again, even if it's not immediately challenging Ronda or anything, just being on the roster, being in the mix, and adding more depth and more, just a new starter, like, new but old in a way. New, and everything old is new again. Being on the main roster in that sense, but definitely think about the timeline here. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that Mandy will necessarily lose on Sunday. At least, I kind of hope not. Nesha says that she sees new tag champions, but she's Mandy retaining. Yeah, again, I think that's realistic. I'd be very surprised if Mandy lost. I would not be all that surprised if Gigi and JC lost. Nesha says that the cow didn't go over the moon, but she did go through the table because we had Wendy diving off through the table tonight. Very, very, very nice. I mean, yeah, I think it's fine. I like Toxic Attraction overall. I think it's a great act. I don't think the main roster would be better off with them. And again, I don't necessarily know if that will happen this week, next week, whatever. Just like, I think they're very good together. I think the main roster could really use them, but they're good. They're good on NXT. They feel very important on NXT. And in a way, maybe I guess I would worry about where they would exactly kind of slide in on the main roster. So I'm enjoying their run so far. And if I had to pick, I would think that maybe they'll all retain and they'll keep going on Saturday, but I could definitely see the tag titles changing hands, especially because Katana and Caden have been there for a while, and they definitely deserve it. So I'm looking forward. I think both matches, especially the tag match, will be good, and this will be a really good chance to see Wendy Chu in the ring here, what she can do. So definitely looking forward to see what happens there. But we have another stable. They had a big night tonight as well, although not in as much of a good way. We had the Diamond Mine with some more tension right off the bat. Roderick Strong and Damon Kemp had a match for the NXT Tag Champions, Pretty Deadly. Before the match, Roderick told the Creed Brothers they had the night off. He just said, look how it's done, basically, because they're going to be challenging Pretty Deadly on Saturday. This was a very good match. this was, I believe, the first time I've seen Damon Kemp in a match. I don't get the chance to really watch NXT Level Up, so I know that he's been around. I'm pretty sure he's been on the show. But I don't think he's been on NXT Prime, at least in a match. So this was definitely my first chance to see him. Very much reminds me of the Creed brothers. This is Gable Stevenson's brother, but I believe it's Bobby Stevenson. Damon Kemp is his WWE name. Definitely has that raw athleticism. Definitely the same look of the singlet and everything. And I was impressed. Like, he definitely had this adrenaline and energy, and he didn't feel like the guy that's very, very, very new to this. Like, he felt like fairly. He he belonged in there. So I thought it was a good match. In the end, the Creed brothers came down. They excellently wound up. They didn't actually cost Roderick the match. He got distracted when Pretty Deadly tried to use the titles. The Creed saved him essentially. They took the bullet, or they took the blow from the title, and then the Pretty Deadly won the match. Afterwards, Roderick was very upset, and he said, "Creeds, if you lose on Sunday, or keep saying Sunday, if you lose on Saturday, you're out of the Diamond Mine. That's it. You're out of the group. So definitely a big, even more stakes to that match there, leading me to question like, are they going to? I don't think they're going to lose, but then maybe they win and say, hey, we don't need Roderick Strong anymore.
Yeah, it's very possible. I thought the match was pretty predictable tonight, and I think what the story of Diamond Mine and the tensions uh, leads me to believe that Roderick Strong is likely to cost them again somehow, some way. But I don't know where this is going because it feels like Diamond Mine is such a perfect fit for these, like the Creed brothers, Ivy Nile, and even Kemp. Like it just makes sense. Roderick Strong is like the odd man out, and it's like I hate to say like is there potential of him to like make his own group, but like he's already done that. He was with Undisputed Era. Like would he do it a third time? I don't know who would be in the group. There's already been rumors about him in the future with the company in general. Like I mean those have been gone for a while, but you never know where things stand. So I have a feeling that Pretty Deadly would retain somehow, some way, but I don't know where it's going as far as just the Diamond Mine in general as a group.
Yeah, Steven says he believes Creeds will lose because of Strong, so maybe some either intentional interference or a more unintentional interference here, saying that Pretty Deadly will retain because of that. Nestor says Diamond Mine's going to break up, likely maybe with a loss or even with a win potentially. And Brian says the Creeds need to be the champions. I mean, again, these guys won the Dusty Tag Team Classic. They didn't really get a shot right after that, and then they had the three-way at Stand Deliver. But like this is really their, I think as far as I can recall, like their first real shot at the titles. I don't know, at least on a big event like this and a 2-on-2 tag match like this. So definitely a big match for them. And I think in some ways they should win. And again, maybe they can keep going with this Diamond Mine ascension and say, okay, they win. And then they're like, hey, we did this without Roderick Strong. So, screw him. We don't need him. But again, I think with Roderick Strong, either way, if Diamond Mine continues, especially if Diamond Mine breaks up, he's definitely in a weird place, as you mentioned, kind of the rumors and like what's going to happen with him. And even outside of that, even before those reports came out, we were talking about like he feels like a guy that's kind of lost in the mix, and he's with a group right now. If he's out of the group, that's even more so like, okay, what's his real place next to, other than a very, very talented veteran who can make anybody look great in the ring, which is very valuable. But I don't know NXT 2.0 how exactly valuable that is to them, because based on what we've seen so far. But Natasha says she sees Pretty Deadly winning as well. And talk about Dynamite here. Brian Evans says he misses Malcolm Bivens. He's great. I thought he was really great in Dynamite. The group's not the same without him, and it's unfortunate that he was let go. And maybe that's even more, especially why not really sure what I want to see happen with the group, because they. I don't know. We talked about it before, but there's so much turnover. They lost Bivens, they lost Hideki Suzuki, all these guys. And yeah, Steven says since the releases, Dynamite has been downhill. Even with the Creed brothers, picking up momentum, challenging for the titles. Like this, it's a weird mixed bag situation. Two comments: this is people saying they want to see Ivy Nile get a title shot. She picked up a win against Kiana James tonight. Pretty impressive win for her. She's, as far as I know, pretty much undefeated in singles action. So I could see her challenging the titles, especially if they do turn like the Creeds and Ivy Nile, I guess by extension face. I guess I could see her challenging Mandy Rose at some point. But I've been fairly impressed with her as well. We haven't got to see as much of what she can do in the ring, but as far as I can tell, I've enjoyed it pretty much. I think I've been impressed with the Creed brothers. I think they should win in some ways. And again, I'm kind of at a loss for how to proceed with Dynamite. Because if they break up, that puts Roderick Strong in a weird place. If they don't break up, Roderick Strong stays in a weird place. So it feels like a bit of a lose-lose. But either way, yet again, I'm sure it's going to be a very, very good match. So we look forward to seeing that on Saturday. Something they had advertised for tonight and then wound up changing. Because I wrote up the article before NXT went. This was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they advertised the finals of the women's breakout tournament and said for tonight it would have been Roxanne Perez against Tiffany Stratton. And then pretty early on in the show, they had Roxanne Perez cut a promo, a very, very good promo, just talking about her journey to WWE, how she skipped her prom because she was training and chasing her dreams as a wrestler, how she didn't go to concerts, didn't really hang out with friends. This is someone that literally started training when she was 13 years old. It's crazy. that dedicated, just talking about her road to WWE, her real passion for it, her passion for wrestling. And then she said next week when I face Tiffany Stratton. So they either changed their mind or dare I say falsely advertised it. I don't really know. I don't know what happened there. Because then Tiffany Stratton said the same thing in her promo. It's next week, and then they confirmed it for next week. So I don't really know what happened there, but we can look forward to seeing that next week. Boy, do I want to see Roxanne Perez win this thing. Like, I just think she has so much potential, such a great story. I've been more impressed with Tiffany Stratton lately, but I think especially right now, Mandy Rose being a champion, Roxanne Perez, ready-made challenger, great underdog, an underdog who can go, who's very believable, and just they're perfect foils. Like Mandy Rose is a great heel, Roxanne Perez is really strong baby face. But to me, by itself, I'm looking forward to it, so I'm hoping she wins, John. That'll be next week.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think you hit the nail on the head for sure that she's clearly the best fit to win this year.
Yeah, a bit of a self-plug. If you want to go back in the archives, I mentioned it before, but I got to interview Roxanne while she was still Roxy with Ring of Honor. That was last May, so it's buried in the archives at this point. Maybe I'll try and retweet it or something ahead of next week. But she talks all about her journey to not to WWE at that point. She hadn't signed yet, but at that point to Ring of Honor. That was her first real big break. Again, training when she was 13, started wrestling. I think she actually started wrestling when she was 14, and worked her way from there. Her nickname was the Prodigy because just to start that young is very, very impressive. Great story talking about how she took inspiration from AJ Lee and Paige, I believe, were two of her big ones. So again, I'm biased, just having the ability to talk to her about that. I want to see great things for her, and seeing how she's been treated in NXT so far, I've been very, very impressed as well. So Steven says Perez can win the whole tournament. He says Stratton has a bright future. She really is improving, and I agree. As we talked about before, the tournament isn't just about winning; it's about who goes far, who's impressing. Both have been very impressive, and I just think it is about winning. So basically, a title shot. I want to see Perez get that, but definitely, I've been very impressed with Stratton lately as well. Naturally agreeing that Roxanne should win. Thanks, she loved her on Ring of Honor. Was excited when she got signed. Yeah, I was exactly the same way. And Brian says if Stratton wins, we riot. He's pulling for Roxy as well. So it sounds like most of us are on the same page. John, you had said that you agree with what I was saying about that. It makes sense, to have that. She already faced Rose. There's a bit of a history there. So looking forward to that. Kind of hope we would have gotten tonight because that was what was advertised. But nonetheless, looking forward to seeing that next week. But in her promo, Roxanne talked about her friendship with Cora Jade because they were very similar, I believe. When Cora signed with WWE, I think she was, I want to say 20. She was also very much on the younger side of things. She was relatively young, and they didn't come up together, but they definitely worked together very closely, became friends on the independent scene. She was talking about that. So as part of that, if you remember weeks ago, Elektra Lopez insulted both of them. So Cora Jade had her match with Elektra tonight, kind of spinning out of that. Cora won. Thought it was a perfectly fine match, and another win for Cora Jade here, kind of keeping her, or this got her back on the winning side of things. Nothing really much more to say about it. She's already gotten a title shot, so I'm not, and she had a mini feud with Natalya, so I'm not exactly sure where she's going from here, but this was definitely just felt like an easy way to get her back on track, back on the winning side of things.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting to see just in general of these young female superstars making their way up kind of the reins to the higher level of NXT and then the main roster. It's just everybody takes their own path, but it seems like WWE is treating them with a lot of respect and that they want them to be a big deal, and it's worked out so far.
Yeah, and I think part of that for Roxanne, they're kind of, at least even maybe in a loose way so far, they're associating her with Cora. They've been backstage. She referenced Cora in the promo, so kind of trying to associate Roxanne with her, and maybe because they've already built up Cora pretty successfully, to kind of have Roxanne be more prominent by proxy in a way. So we got maybe kind of spinning out of that. We got two comments from both Steven and Brian saying he'd like to see not only a tag team with Roxanne and Cora, but Brian says he'd like to see them go for the tag team titles. Especially on NXT, I think that'll make a lot of sense. They're real life friends. And now we're already seeing that on TV at this point. So and they don't have all that much depth here. So it makes sense to me. Again, especially not really knowing what they're going to do with Cora Jade here in the short term. Hey, maybe if Roxanne wins the tournament, maybe she'll decide to challenge the tag titles. I think that'd make sense. And then maybe if Tiffany actually wins on Saturday, maybe that's what we get coming out of that. that could set up Mandy versus Roxanne. I mean, I'm kind of connecting the dots here, but I think that'd be cool. There's something said for that as well. Not going right for Roxanne versus Mandy again, but maybe taking the longer route. I think that makes sense as well. Or even kind of outside of that, just the one off for the tag titles here. I think I like to see that. It'd be fun. It's always good, it's cool when you have people that are real life friends team up like that. So at the very least, I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. Otherwise, here, speaking of teaming up, we had a continuation of the alliance of Zion Quinn, not Zion, but of the alliance between Wesley and Sanga before Wesley's match with Zion Quinn. So last week, Sanga defeated Wesley, but he saved Wes from a post-match beatdown at the hands of Zion Quinn. This week, we got the not long waited, but this match has been, I think, rescheduled twice because Zion has been not clear to compete. So before the match, Sanga said to Wesley, like, you have the heart of a champion. You have to fight Zion like you fought me. It was very much like Babyface promo. Just kind of like mentor him, coach him up a little bit, which was nice. I think a lot of the time, not to get too into the weeds, like a lot of time you think of someone like Veer, you think of the great Khali, although he was both a monster heel and a fun-loving dancing babyface. But a lot of the time, these like very stereotypical heels, like the evil foreign heel you see all the time. It's nice to have Sanga being a nice guy, just trying to give Wesley some advice. I appreciate that. Rather than immediately framing. At first, he was kind of the stereotypical bodyguard for Grayson Waller, but now he's kind of this nice friendly guy for Wesley. So I like to see that. I don't know if they're going to be a tag team, but at least they're kind of aligned, joining forces a little bit. We had Wesley get the win over Zion Quinn here. Sanga didn't appear really after the match, but good win for Wesley. Maybe he could credit the win to Sanga's advice. I don't know, but at least kind of some nice week to week storytelling there. Any thoughts on Wesley here? I thought they're going to have Zion win and have Wesley lose again, which would not be great. But I was just happy to see him get a win here as a bit of a good sign that he might be okay in terms of his singles run here.
Yeah, I think everything's going to be fine. I think Zion Quinn is more ready for a singles run, but as far as Wesley goes, he has definitely shown the ability to rebound and kind of be a singles competitor, and he's done well so far for himself. But comparing these two, if you had to pick one kind of to give the push to right now immediately, I would pick Quinn. I don't know about you. Over a teaming, especially. Like, I think Zion Quinn would be more ready.
Yeah.
But I feel like the crowd would be more behind Wesley, though.
Yeah, it's weird. Brian says Wes has a very bright future. Stephen likes the idea of pairing Wesley and Nathan Frazier in a tag team. We'll talk about Nathan Frazier more, and he was in the main event. Both guys very, very electric high flyers. I like that idea, especially can always use more depth in the tag team division. I guess for me that it's a mixed bag of a question because I still remember early days of NXT 2.0. We had Zion Quinn doing the karaoke "Sexy Boy" Shawn Michaels, and I was like that image is like burned in my head, and this like can't quite still take him seriously, or at least I always kind of think of that. I'll forget about it, and then it's like, man, we think about it again. So there's always this like little voice of like, oh, that happened. He's got a great look, very, very impressive. He looks like a legit superstar. Not to say Wesley doesn't, but he looks like a powerhouse. Looks like the kind of guy they would want to push. So he's got that. I've been fairly impressed with his matches. I don't think he's going to go out there and put on like a 5-star classic or anything, but he's perfectly fine in the ring. He has like kind of hard to define star quality. Like he looks like a badass. Like I like him in that regard. I like Wesley. He's a great high flyer. I like his character. This guy that's like been through crap and he's trying his best kind of in real life in terms of his partner's release and everything. And he's trying his best to kind of work, persevere and work through it. And again, I don't know. I haven't seen much of Wesley as a singles guy, either in NXT so far and even before. So like he is to me, as far as an element tag team guy, we're now seeing him more as a singles guy. But I think, as you mentioned, John, maybe it's easier to see kind of Zion Quinn more as a potential singles star, maybe than Wesley at this point. Steven brings up that Zion Quinn had a great match with Escobar. I vaguely remember that. At some point, a lot of stuff starts to blur together. I remember enjoying that a while ago. So that was a pretty good feud. I enjoyed that. The ending was a little bit flat, but I did like that as well. Not sure. I mean, this is a kind of a recurring point here, but unfortunately, she says she thinks Wesley getting released at some point. Not to speculate on it, but only because as someone that came in as a tag team guy, it's always a possibility. I hate to say it, it's always a possibility. Based on what we see with WWE these days. Hopefully nobody gets released. Hopefully, it all works out fine, and everyone is successful, and everyone was happy ever after. It's great. Obviously, it doesn't exactly work out like that, but I think Wesley's very talented. I was glad that he won tonight. I am glad he's getting more featured on the show. Whatever happens here with Saga, this kind of pairing, it remains to be seen. And Zion Quinn remains featured, and I feel like he wins most matches more often than not. So he's fine taking a loss here. I didn't jump to he's getting buried or anything when he lost. It was a loss. It was fine. I'm liking both guys. I'm liking the fact that they're featuring different. They just kind of rotating cast of people every week. So that's good. And I was happy to see Wesley win a match here. So it's a win-win. And just to circle back to John's question, I'd be happy to have either guy succeed as a singles guy. So speaking of people they're trying to build up as singles guys, Von Wagner made an appearance after the end of Josh Briggs' match with Grayson Waller. He helped Grayson Waller win the match by attacking Josh Briggs, who set up the match after Grayson was trashing Country and Hicks, or what means your stereotypical kind of insults for that kind of thing, rednecks and stuff like that, as part of hyping up Tiffany Stratton's match with Roxanne being from Texas. So Von Wagner cost them the match and attacked him after the match. So I feel like we're kind of they teased that feud last week, so we're clearly going in that direction. Steven, I think you say this every week, no comment on Von Wagner. Hey, he didn't cut a promo tonight, so I can't knock him for that. He just beat a dude up, so he did that well, John, I guess.
Yeah, this was a dud for me. I don't really have a whole lot of comments to add. I wasn't really interested. I wasn't invested into this. I don't understand this kind of with Wagner and what they're doing, and I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, I think that they're just trying to give him all the tools to get over, to stand out, to succeed. They got Robert Stone, and that wasn't really taken to the next level all on its own. Then they brought in Sophia Cromwell, this mysterious associate, for lack of a better word, that we still don't really know much about, but she's been popping up pretty regularly. So potential manager, I guess associate's best word. Brian says, look, they're starting some kind of stable. Yeah, it's weird. It's a one-man stable at this point. It's he's got a manager, and then I don't know what to call Sophia Cromwell at this point, but a second manager, I guess, at this point, or maybe a valet, if you want to use that term. I don't know. I think they're giving him a stable thing, trying to take the weight off of him as an individual of trying to get over on his own. And not as a knock on him, so they're trying to help him, trying to give him the tools to do that. Steven says put Solo versus Vaughn, makes it more interesting. I mean, people love Solo Sikoa, so at least there you have people more interested, more invested in the match. Definitely feels like we are going to get Von Wagner versus Josh Briggs coming out of this. Would probably assume Von Wagner's going to win that because they're trying to build him up there. And that's just happy we got Solo Sikoa, though. Solo picked up a win over Duke Hudson. Duke said he's next in line for the NXT title because he beat Braun Breaker by DQ last week. Braun being the NXT champion. Solo said it was by DQ. Duke was upset. He was like, "Oh, you're not at my level." Solo's like, "Well, let's see." They had a match. The crowd loves Solo Sikoa. Still chanting Uso at him. This crowd, they're always into him. Another one for Solo. Feel like the dude never loses, especially singles matches. He's very, very well protected here. He has next in line, so whoever wins the North American title match on Saturday, he will supposedly get a title shot, whether that's Cameron Grimes or Kamala Hayes. Another good one for Solo, and I have to think that he will probably be the next North American champion, especially if Grimes retains on Saturday.
Yeah, no argument here. I absolutely agree. That's going to be the case. The crowd loves him, obviously, because of who his family is, which is fine. It's been entertaining to watch him, and he's very good in the ring, and I think it'll work out just fine. I think the next person in line for the main NXT championship should be the winner of Escobar and D'Angelo, though. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, that's felt like the main story of NXT in a lot of ways. It sounds weird to say there's no title involved, or if not even the main story, the most entertaining story, the most that's what I'm most interested in, the thing that's most compelling to me. I guess as Brian says, Solo has that Oos swagger. Maybe he's an honorary member of the Bloodline too. I guess he is a member of the Bloodline technically, but not officially yet. Oh yeah, I definitely think he'll be the next North America champion. What happens beyond that remains to be seen, but feel very confident, especially assuming Grimes retains on Saturday. That's going to be what we'll be looking forward to. Speaking of Braun Breaker and his feud for In Your House, we had another promo from Joe Gacy here, the challenger for Braun Breaker on Saturday In Your House. So, John, this feud revolves around the fact that Braun Breaker has anger issues and that his dad wasn't around when he was a kid. Gacy wants to take advantage of that and stir the pot by bringing that up. And he was saying, "Oh, when you were a kid, Braun, you're watching your dad on TV, and then he would come home and basically." Not like child abuse, but there's like some implication of like he just like let the kids fight and like didn't stop them and like kind of it's again not child abuse, like not a great look for a parent. It's kind of insulting Braun's dad and really trying to get him riled up. And then Braun responded. He was like, I'm going to beat him up on Saturday, and then he almost threw a TV because Gacy has become the secondary, like great value brand of Bray Wyatt. Now he can control the lights and he can, mess with the effects and he can have his laughter play over the sound system. It's cringy, man. Is he supernatural? Like what are we going for here?
I guess that's probably what they're going for. I've seen the comparisons and the complaints that he's a great value. Bray Wyatt, speaking of, is making his rounds in the news again. But as far as this Joe Gacy thing goes, man, it's just not working. He was basically just put into the main event picture out of the blue, given this title shot, and he hasn't really proved himself in the ring. It's basically just been storytelling that's been kind of creepy and irrelevant, really, to what NXT is doing in general. Braun Breaker, of course, is a big name, but I got the hype, but now, like recently, like I don't get why everybody's saying he's going to come to the main roster and start dominating. He hasn't done a whole lot recently either. I mean, honestly, and I'm not saying that he's Roman Reigns because he's not, but he's the equivalent to Roman Reigns of NXT because they both show up when they want to, don't really wrestle on the show a whole lot, and just kind of talk.
Yeah, and I think especially this feud hasn't helped in that regard. I think. I mean, I don't even know. I guess like when he lost the title to Ziggler, like I think that kind of hurt his momentum a little bit. I think having him on Raw helped as well. Then he won the title back on Raw, weirdly enough, and then he entered this fairly lengthy feud with Gacy. And from the start, I think most of us here we've been talking about it for weeks now. It's like most of us have really not believed that Gacy had any chance of winning. And now we've got this rematch. Well, the stipulation meaning that if Braun gets disqualified to lose the title, which is always a weird way to go, not impossible, but they could do it. But that'd be a very weird way to lose a title for a guy like Braun Breaker. Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that Roman Reigns comparison, at least to a lesser degree. It's like he is kind of a featured guy. Maybe he doesn't wrestle all the time, but at least he feels very important. But yeah, this feud, not really digging. I think that's kind of hurt any sense of for me in a way of like, is saying, oh, like what's the thing with this guy? Why is he being called like the next big thing? The guy that I've seen many people say, oh, he's going to be the one that beats Roman in like a year or whatever. Like I don't know if I see that today. And maybe if we had better feuds for him, better storytelling, whatever it might be, I might feel differently. But Brian's saying he would like to see Breaker get called up. I feel fairly confident he would do better on the main roster. Maybe I don't know. I think there's less of a divide these days of the main roster of NXT because it feels more in line, like they're run by a similar vision at least. Whereas Black and Gold was very different. It was very jarring transition. Steven says Braun could join Judgment Day. I do think when he gets called up, he will probably be booked very similarly as he has on NXT, just this powerhouse babyface. Then maybe they'll lean more into his family legacy kind of thing, and maybe not, but it's more similar to what we have been seeing. But yeah, I think that's been the problem for me from the start. It's like the storyline. It's hard to invest in when I really don't think AC has any chance, especially after he beat him the first time. Now it's like, well, unless he gets disqualified, I don't really think any reason to think he's going to lose. Speaking of the call, Nesh says, Barbie says it's too soon for him. Oh yeah, I think it's too soon. I'm just saying, like, there's always that discussion like, oh, the NXT champion, especially a guy like Ron Berger, they've been very high on him from the start. There's always the thought of like, oh, he could get called up, and how might that go? Yeah, I mean, his first match was in that was on TV was in September, and it's only the end of May now, so it's really not a lot of time. So I could definitely see, maybe a couple more months of just really making sure that he's ready to go. Not say that he isn't now, but you can never have too much preparation. That's kind of what I feel about it. Same with Solo. Same thing with Solo Sikoa. He was very much new to the game when he debuted on NXT 2.0, and he's getting over big time as Breaker is as well. But you can never have too much preparation to make sure they're ready to go and do that. So. And that's just Gacy could use his mind freak powers to win the match. I mean, if they want to go fully whack with it, he was controlling the lights tonight. He had his laughing over the PA system. They had the one weird cliffhanger ending where like the camera zoomed out and it was like this very weird, like fiend-like ending for him. I think that was a week or two ago. So if they want to go that direction, like, all right, like it's fine. I don't know. I liked Gacy more as like person. That's very powerful with his words, and he's trying to start this movement. He had Harland, and he had him as kind of his heavy or his enforcer. Now he's got the robed guys who, by all intents and purposes, seem to be Grizzled Young veterans. So we just don't know that yet. So I like the idea of having be this like kind of cult leader like Bray Wyatt. Now we're going more Fiend Bray Wyatt of like powers / weird and campy, like I don't even know. So I'm not exactly the biggest fan of that, I guess, evolution in a way. Yeah, so I can't say I'm necessarily looking forward to this match on Saturday. I'm looking forward to the feud being over. I really hope this will be the end of the feud so that Braun can move on to other things here, and Gacy as well, because I just not loving it here. And that's just bringing up Chase U. John, one of my favorite things on the show tonight that I did not expect at all. So we had the advertised debut of Thea Hale, the woman who graduated high school last week, which is crazy. They showed a clip of her walking across the stage, and then like many high school athletes, we had a quote unquote a press conference with college caps on the table. Notre Dame, I think it was Alabama and North Carolina, and she said, she was about to pick Notre Dame, and she almost put it on. She threw it away. She cleared the hats off the table, and John, she chose to attend Chase University. I don't know. Like the segment started, and I was like, "Oh, this is a little weird." Like the fake press conference is like, "Yeah, it's kind of silly." And then she said, "I'm going to Chase U," and she put the hat on. And then Andre Chase and his students, whatever, like freaked out in the back. I don't know, man. I thought that was fun. I think that was pretty cool. And it seems like she will be kind of. I mean, it makes sense. She's a student. She's graduating, so she's going to college. I imagine she'll actually go to college in real life, but like having that be part of her story here, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense because like clearly it's like I don't understand where they're gonna take this, I guess. Like I don't want them to just waste her from the start by doing these goofy things like this. So hopefully they actually have a plan on what they're gonna do here.
I see that. I mean, someone like Body Hayward has been kind of relegated to, not relegated, but he's been in that role since he debuted on NXT. So, and he's like, the main, he's really the only student really we know of, like by name. Otherwise, it's a bunch of like extras or whatever. He's been Chase's like manager / like, main ally there. I don't know. I think it makes sense to kind of introduce Hale, have her in some kind of vignettes, literally have her in class. Like that to me, like that right itself. There's a lot of fun stuff you could do with that, and then kind of and even maybe having her like do some training in the ring or whatever. Because no, I think she was already wrestling. She's not like she's brand new to her or anything. But I don't know. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do there. I do see the concern about like how she might kind of get pigeonholed into that, like if she debuts in this kind of comedy role, and that's not necessarily great. We don't know anything about her at this point, so I guess I'm looking at it like it's positive. Like she has a role. It's just like entering this already defined thing, but that does have the downside of like it isn't already a defined thing that we already kind of know as a comedy thing. So there's a challenge there as well. And that's why the idea of having Hale go to Alpha Academy. Hey, what she could be in Chase University and then transfer to Alpha Academy potentially if all goes well. I don't know. I thought it was funny because like what better commentary on like just the state of secondary education than to say, okay, she had all these options, and to me the implication was like, oh, they're all too expensive. I'm going to go to Chase University because like that's the easiest option here. Like I don't know, because like you think of Notre Dame and like the most big schools, surely they're like probably outlandish prices at this point. I don't know. That's probably what wasn't the intention. I just read way too deep into it. She shows kind of a fake school. I mean, not even a matter of money. She shows a fake school to avoid that. I thought it was pretty fun, but I enjoyed it. I definitely see some of the downsides of it as well. Otherwise, here we had, as mentioned, the postponed women's Breakup tournament, and then we had the main event: Cameron Grimes, the North American champion, against Nathan Frazier. This was a very good match. I've been impressed with Frazier. Big fan of Cameron Grimes. As you could expect, just having two good wrestlers go on and have a good main event. This was very good. I thought this is good for Nathan Frazier. Yeah, he lost, but no harm in having a good showing against a guy like Cameron Grimes, who's become like an NXT mainstay. He's one of the longest tenured guys there at this point, based on all the changeover. Very good match. I enjoyed it.
Well, we can be honest. I thought Frazier really never stood a chance here. I think the match was more for him to kind of prove what he's capable of in the main event scene before he would ultimately lose, which is what happened. These Frazier could be a threat to the North American champion down the line. Maybe when Solo wins, Frazier comes back and revisits the scene then. This was the best match of the night, I thought, tonight on the show. It was genuinely a good wrestling match, back and forth, good 10-minute match, good fast pace, some high spots, just good match.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And again, like at the end of the day, one of my catchphrases here is like NXT is still a pretty darn good show when it focuses on wrestling. You give me a good main event, nothing to complain about. No wonky finish, no weird cliffhanger ending as we've seen with Joe Gacy sometimes. Like nothing to complain about. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good match, good win for Cameron Grimes. Heading into Sunday, damn it, I keep saying Sunday. Heading into Saturday for In Your House. And his match with Carmelo Hayes. Hayes attacked him after the match. Grimes got the better of the exchange to end the night standing tall. I think that'll be a very good match as well. Brian says he thinks Frazier should be next in line for a North American title shot down the line. I mean, yeah, they could. WWE all the time will do this where it's like, oh, the person was really impressive, but they lost, and the champion will be like, hey, kid, you pushed me in the limit. I'll give you a title shot, which is like not the best because then they're going to lose again. But most of the times how that goes. Or if you think down the line, okay, Frazier had a good showing here, give him a couple wins here over the next couple weeks or whatever, if not longer, and then circle back and say, hey, wait, whatever it might be, a month, 2 months down the road, hey, like I almost beat you, I pushed you to the limit. Now look where I am. I want a title shot. That's my preferred option of the two, but I could easily see them being like, hey, I'll give a title shot for the heck of it. I like the idea. I mean, Solo's definitely earned it, so I think that makes sense. If Solo wins, I think there's something to be said for that as well. He could say, hey, I almost beat the former champion, and ideally give him another win or two beyond that. I should get a title shot for against Solo. I think that makes sense as well. Next says she wants Solo versus Braun. I feel like that's going to come at some point. Again, depending on whenever Braun does get called up, I feel like that's one of the big things they might be building up at some point. But yeah, I definitely think, as I talked about earlier, Solo probably could be the next North American champion. And then Nathan Frazier had a good showing as well. And Steven says Cameron Grimes going to the moon, and he thinks Grimes is going to retain. And I would agree. I don't think there's any real reason to have Grimes lose right here because he's already the champion. Although he's been a little lost in the shuffle a bit since he lost the title, I'd be a little surprised if Grimes lost on Saturday.
Yeah, I guess I agree for the most part. I think it could go either way, but I'm guessing Grimes is probably going to win.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't be like surprised if Kamala won. I just think like give Grimes a good win, give him maybe a rematch with not even a rematch with Frazier. Just sets him up to lose the title to Solo. I think that would make more sense to have him just drop the title back to Kamala in this case. Steven says he thinks it's a big triple threat match. I think he means by including Solo potentially. I think they already did that. I don't know if they would run that back quickly and do a rematch. Maybe a triple threat with Nathan Frazier as well. Again, ideally you give a couple more wins first, but I think it's going to be pretty clear of like singles match on Saturday, and then Solo gets a title shot as well. Beyond that, Nash says triple threat could throw in Duke Hudson as well potentially. Maybe. I mean, I think they need to build him up a little bit more too. He won a match by DQ last week. As always, I just want contenders to get wins and to be believable. WWE doesn't always do that. So for all we know, maybe they'll give anybody a title shot at this point. Who knows? But all that takes us through NXT tonight. We look forward to seeing in your house on Saturday. All things considered, John, what do you think about the show tonight?
I thought it was pretty good, and I don't think it was great, but I thought it was a good build to kind of get us to the event this weekend. So I would probably go with a 6.75. It was a little below average, but it wasn't necessarily bad. The build was okay, so I'm excited to see kind of how they capitalize on that this weekend.
I would tend to agree. I think I'll go for a 6.75 as well. Steven with a 7, Nash with a 6. I mean, I saw a tweet and I hadn't thought of it myself, but I was thinking about it. I was like, there's something to be said for that. Like when NXT 2.0 first started, there were some really bad episodes, and then as it got better, there were some really good episodes. I feel like for the past couple of weeks, NXT has had some fine episodes. Hasn't been really good, hasn't been really bad. And some of the bad ones, like they were rough to get through, but so something said for like, people hate watch stuff. It's like, oh, this is so bad it's good, or it's like it's funny that it's bad, or it's not great. In a way, like if something's just fine, like to me, it's almost less entertaining to a degree, where it's like you can kind of you watch a train crash, like you want to see kind of this chaos, or like how bad could it be. I'm not saying I want NXT to be bad. I'm saying there's something said for like, I don't know. There was a certain charm to that, even though I constantly complain about it now. Now I can say, like, I don't know. Just having a show that's perfectly fine. I don't know. It's not like, I don't know. I guess I prefer something a little either more good, or, a little more on the other side, it being in the middle. I don't know. I'm fine with it being a middle of the road show, because there was definitely a rough stretch there for quite a while. Brian's overall here for the show saying 7.5 can be a good weekend with In Your House and Hell in a Cell. While Nesha and Steven both saying NXT has gotten better. Steven's saying it's improving every week. I think it takes some steps back here and there, but I think overall it's made a lot of progress, and there's definitely been some pretty consistent growth. And now I think they may I won't say that they've leveled out, but it feels like it's been pretty level of like just fine / like decent for a couple weeks now, which is definitely an improvement over where we were. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. I just did kind of enjoy when NXT was so bad it's good. But we're going to look back on that and enjoy how NXT is fine now, and now that it's good as well. So with that, John, this was the NXT post show. We are here every Tuesday for NXT, every Monday for Monday Night Raw. Schedule permitting, Robert and I are here every Friday and SmackDown. The two Dynamite Dudes and Rampage, Marcus and Dominic, cover all things AEW. We have a great stream of interviews constantly coming to you guys. Bill Pritchard recently interviewed Ric Flair, which is crazy. Make sure to check that out. Living legend Ric Flair. Again, say what you will about him, but he's a legend, so that's really cool. We were able to get an interview with him. We had an interview with Ruby Soho last week. I had Double or Nothing, the former Ruby Riott. Lots of great stuff as well. All the shows, everything, either streams live or it's available in our archives. So on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, all the good stuff and more. You know where to find us. Please do leave a like and subscribe. And again, folks, the world, it's a very scary place. It's rough out there, but that's why we come here together to escape all of that, to enjoy the wild, wacky, and wonderful world of wrestling. I already gave it away, but John, here also we do one thing above all others, and can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, everybody.